Does the age at which you get your college degree affect your job prospects? So this guy quit his trucking job in his 40s to go get a bachelor's of political science from NYU, and he started applying to entry-level government jobs. He recalls one job that he applied for where the early stages of the interview process seemed promising, but he said things changed when he had an in-person interview. As soon as the hiring manager saw me, his whole demeanor changed. He ran through the questions and never truly engaged with me. A few weeks later, he learned that he was no longer being considered for the role. The only explanation that made sense to him was that the hiring manager wasn't interested in candidates as old as him. So he started to look for a trucker job again, but he had struggled landing an interview for that, despite decades of experience. Then he thought, what if I take my college education off my resume? I did not start receiving interviews until I removed the education section on my application. My degree was holding me back.
This is not me trying to sound rude, but the reality for most of you guys is you're gonna get a college degree and you're still gonna be broke. That's the scary reality for most of you guys, but mainstream media doesn't want to talk about it. Today in my accounting class, we were learning about taxes and how 1/3 will be going to the government. Meaning, good for you, straight out of college, you get a job that pays $75,000, immediately forget about $25,000 of that because that's going to Uncle Sam, you're down to $50,000. After $50,000, most of you guys can't afford a house because you just are not gonna get approved for it, so you're gonna have to rent. So you have to think about rent, your car note, health insurance, you have to think about your crippling student loan. That's literally the reason why most people can't even put food on their tables, because the monthly payments and the installments are just so high and the interest rate is just completely horrible. And then you have to think about putting food on the table, and right now you just can't afford kids or a house. I want most of you guys to understand that some of the degrees, especially that you guys are getting in like history, English, communication, I'm sorry to say it's not going to put food on the table, and I want you to be very, very aware of that. Unless you're getting one of those degrees to go to law school or even medical school, so at least you have a chance of surviving in this economy, I'm so sorry, you're gonna have to think of an alternative. I'm not a financial advisor or anything. I haven't even graduated college. I'm just someone who watched my parents live low income, paycheck to paycheck, and I never want to live that lifestyle again, so I tried to stay ahead of things. And I'm not just talking to talk. Like a quick Google search, you will actually be so scared. When I was 16, I knew that this was gonna happen, so I started learning to make money online. If you know my page, you know that like 16, 17 years old, I made $20,000 off online 2-3 months. And then after that, I just started teaching myself how to make multiple sources of passive income. I live in a luxury apartment that I pay for at 20 years old. Like, I know what I'm talking about. And I also understand that most of you guys are like depending on going straight out of college and living this life that you imagine. But in this economy, sis, you're gonna have to figure something out. This is one of the reasons they're trying to ban TikTok, because there's people like me telling you guys that this is a serious issue, so you can start thinking about this early. Because the fact of the matter is, a quick Google search and you will actually be terrified for your life. Joe Biden failed at getting these student loans forgiven, and all of a sudden now there's no talk about how people are literally not being able to put food on the table because they can't pay back their student loans that they got so they can get a college degree to actually better their lives. Y'all really need to start thinking about these backup plans or what else you're gonna do, because if you lose your job, you're gonna be in a real tough situation, especially how this economy is going. Y'all need to learn about investing, properties, taxes, or like how to start a business, how to start a trust fund, whatever the case may be. I'm not the person to teach you all this. I can teach you about how to make money on social media. I've made videos about that, how to get brand deals, how to optimize your TikTok, your Instagram, and I will be making courses about this. I do get thousands and thousands of DMs a day, and I try to respond to as many of them as possible, but I can't do that all in one day. It's too much for one person. So especially if you want kids in a house, make sure you take this video very seriously. I'll make videos like this, and then once mainstream media starts reporting on it, then my TikTok will blow up and people will be like, oh, I wish I saw this video earlier. If you have any questions, my Instagram is in my bio. I do get a lot of DMs a day, but I do the interactive stickers on my story where I respond to as many people as I can. So good luck.
I have to say my biggest life regret is going to college. If I could go back and get those years back that I wasted going to college and all the money I spent putting into that BS, getting a business degree that was supposed to help me when I get out and make more money in the future. If I could go back knowing what I know now, I definitely wouldn't go to college. The whole thing at this point just feels like it was a scam. I feel like I got ripped off. I was told when I was growing up, grade school, middle school, and high school, that you have to go to college if you want to live a decent life. So I wasted all the prime time right after I graduated high school that I could have been working and saving. And I put that into sitting around being bored as hell in business classes in college. In just the time that I was in college up here in the Pacific Northwest, home prices more than doubled. I get out of college and it turns out the job I can get barely pays better than somebody at McDonald's or Walmart these days. So I start working in landscaping and make double what I can make with my stupid degree. Had I started like this in the beginning, my family would be in so much better of a position, and we wouldn't feel stuck renting for the rest of our lives.
A bachelor's degree in 2023 is what a high school diploma was in the 80s.
You're not crazy, and you are completely correct, and it's a multitude of different reasons, primarily being something called academic inflation. what is academic inflation? Essentially, it's the increased need from employers to have higher education for positions that don't really require them. A good example of this was my mother was director of human resources and personnel for over 30 years, with Marriott Hotels. And eventually in the early 2000s, she was forced out of her position. This is a woman who'd been general manager, a senior HR executives for years until they finally decided that they needed people with degrees. And the other thing too is if you can push people into getting degrees but pay them less, which is another aspect, you're helping to fuel an entire industry that is catering around charging as much money for college supplies and the education as well. That's one reason why college is so expensive. And that's why so many people are saddling themselves with debt, is because they're being told, you just need to get a little bit more education, and then you can finally break free into something, that's somewhat quasi middle class, which is kind of where I am. I spent 4 years getting a bachelor's degree, graduated magna cum laude with HR and management, and I was lucky if I saw job offers for more than 15 goddamn dollars an hour to start. And I was making more money, just basically with the career that I had literally built for myself in production and manufacturing. Even now, I'm not really using my degree. Yeah, my education came into consideration for my hiring, but I'm not actually using my degree. I am working in an offshoot of the career that I had already built for myself. And now I'm being told that if I really want to grow my career, if I really want to make more money, I need to get a master's degree. And here I am making the most money I've ever have in my life, and I can't even survive on my own with it. And I'm basically being told flat out by people that my degree is useless because it's not a master's. So no, you're not crazy. This is something that has been decades in the making.
Several years back when I was working in corporate wellness for a big tech company, I would always ask the software engineers and the people who were working there or coming in to work there and going through onboarding, like where they went to school and just, what they did, before that. And what's crazy is a lot of them, they said like, yeah, I got my bachelor's degree. Yeah, I got my master's degree in engineering or computer science or whatever it was. But they would always say that for the next 6 to 8 weeks at this tech company that we're employed by now, we have to take their courses or their coursework to learn their systems and to learn how they do things. And I go, that's so interesting, because yes, you have to have a foundation for that job to get that job, right? Whether it's coding or software development or whatever it was they were doing. But they were taking courses specifically for that tech company to be able to do the job. And so it's just crazy. I feel like degrees nowadays, they're valuable, but I think they're valuable in the sense that they're prerequisites for potential jobs. I think they're valuable also in the sense of developing interpersonal skills. And thirdly, they're valuable for developing networks and making friends and making connections within the field that you're trying to be in. It's not the technical skills themselves within the degrees most of the time.